his legs and ruptured his femoral artery. Fearful of falling overboard, the injured fisherman roped himself to the winch, but by the time he was discovered, he'd bled to death. Chris's stories get me thinking. Halibut have been caught along this coastline for centuries. But if this fish really poses such a deadly threat to fishermen in small boats, how were they caught before modern vessels were used? To find out, I arranged to meet commercial fisherman and native Alaskan, June Lankard.
Halibut fishing is really dangerous, it's really hard work, and so traditionally fishermen would really have to design their gear to catch smaller fish. In the old days, our canoes were, at best maybe 20 feet, and if you landed a big halibut, it could flip that boat over or wrap you up in the line. Anything could happen.
June shows me a traditional hook, and its unusual construction is revealing.
So this is designed specifically to avoid the bigger halibut, partly because of how dangerous they can be if you're in a small boat.
Right. Depending on the size of your hook and the space between the hook and this bridge right here would determine what size of fish could actually get their mouth around that hook.
So basically a fish with a big mouth, a big thick jaw, just physically won't get it past that gap, so won't get impaled on the point.
Right.
I have to say, I don't think I've ever seen a hook before that's actually designed to avoid hooking big fish. I mean, it is very ingenious.
Sure, but if you went out there without knowing all these things, and if you landed a big halibut, in some cases, they could be fatal.
When I arrived here, I was unsure where to look for a possible killer. Though halibut are marine predators, they do come right inshore, literally to the river mouths. So anyone fishing here runs the risk of encountering one of these monsters.
So it appears that there are fish here that could potentially cause fatal incidents. And what's interesting is that these fish are very unlikely villains. We're not talking about the cold water sharks, but giant halibut. And I have to say, this is definitely a fish that I need to encounter for myself.
The largest Pacific halibut ever caught was just under 500 pounds. That's nearly 3 times what I weigh. They're voracious predators. Salmon, squid, seagulls, and even seals have been found in their stomachs. If you're in a small boat and you hook one of these giant flatfish, it's possibly not the halibut that's going to end up as dinner. Find out for myself how strong this beast really is.
There's a known halibut spot that we're going to, and what I'm trying to do is prepare myself mentally for catching this fish. The other thing that's on my mind is that big ones, people around here, they don't try and get them in the boat intact and then return them. If they bring them in the boat, they're going to kill them. They're either going to shoot them in the water, they're going to club them, they're going to harpoon them, gaff them. I don't want to do any of that. But that is introducing a whole new layer of challenge. How to get a close look at a big fish without injuring it or me is not really something that anybody's particularly tried to do before. So it's definitely going to be a very challenging day.
Fishermen here just don't tangle with large, live halibut. But I want to get a good look at this creature and then put it back alive.
This region around here looks a little bit like Jurassic Park. Amazing fishing spot. Very hard to believe that there could be halibut here. This isn't very deep. I was going to say I can't wait to get a line in the water, but what I've heard about some of these fish, it's one of those moments where you're slightly hesitant about the process as well.
I'm using a large plastic jig on 100-pound braided line and dropping it onto the seabed just 30 feet below. The sea floor is the halibut's domain, and I'm hoping to tempt a monster onto my line.
Yes, it's sort of...
It doesn't take long.
Yeah. Should I bring that in? That's something already. There it is, there it is, there it is. Ah, running at the surface. Let it just go, tire itself out. Oh, off it goes again. Off it goes again. And that's that. Oh. So whatever that was has escaped.
It felt like it was a good-sized fish. I reset and hope I haven't let the big one slip away.
That's something on there. This is not big, but it's something on there.
Creatures I first saw when I was looking for sharks underwater.
China rockfish. A lot of fish showing up on the sonar, so this was mid-water. Took the flashy jig on the way down.
They are some of the longest living fish in these waters, reportedly reaching over 120 years old. I want to quickly get this one back into these shallow waters. I reset, and once again, after only a few minutes, I pull an unexpected but very curious creature up to the surface. This is a lingcod. It's not a type of ling or even a cod, but actually a greenling. It looks a little bit similar to the snakehead I was after in Thailand.
Very, very sharp teeth in there.
And just like the snakehead, it's a voracious hunter.
An impressive looking beast. Predator soup down there.
These smaller predators all attack the lure with a similar bite. But when I feel a much more savage pull on the line, I know that a halibut has taken the bait.
It's off.
The second it hits the bait, the fish takes off with a turn of speed that catches me off guard.
That turned into quite a powerful dive. I'm getting a very disconcerting and characteristic knocking on the rod. The way these fish swim, it's sort of up and down. It's up and down movement.
Bringing this fish in is going to be an almighty struggle.
I can see it. It's quite a good size. I'm going to go for the net. Yeah, we all ready?
I want to get this fish on board without injuring it or us.
Now? That end. No. Hey, can you get him just cover the left-hand side up? Someone take the rod, please. All right. And down we go. Right. It seems calm now. Should we go for it? Okay, good.
It's really green.
Yep. Dorsal fins there, good. Okay. This is a big halibut. This is 120 odd pounds. Heavy to lift, heavy to bring in. And having seen this thing thrash on the surface, I can absolutely believe those stories of when they kick off in a boat, damaging people. We tend to think of flatfish as just food for us, but this is absolutely way up the food chain. This is a predator, and if you're in any doubt of that, just look at this.
Its large tail and powerful musculature give it explosive acceleration. It is undeniably a very odd-looking beast. A sight hunter with two eyes on one side of its face is something I've never encountered in fresh water. Though this one seems to have calmed down after coming into the boat, I don't want to push my luck.
Okay. When I came to Alaska, I wanted to find out if there is anything under the water that could be responsible for some of these cases of unexplained human disappearances.
And the answer is an unequivocal yes. There is a very large and powerful fish living around the river mouths and inlets of this remote coastline.
Yeah.
In a fight with one of these, it would be perfectly possible for an unlucky fisherman to be dragged down and lost in the cold coastal waters. At least one fisherman is known to have been killed by a huge halibut, and they have long been treated with respect by native Alaskans. In these hostile waters, storms and boating accidents do take many lives, but hooking one of these monsters could be surprisingly deadly.
And in fact, having heard all that I have about this fish, I actually consider myself very lucky to have walked away from my encounter unscathed.
Looking to upgrade your appliances? Appliances Online has you covered with a huge range and free delivery. The Finder Awards recognise Australia's best, and Appliances Online has won for their legendary service. To see the full range, visit their website today.
My name's Jeremy Wade. For as long as I can remember, I've had a passion that verges on obsession. Dangerous freshwater fish have got me well and truly hooked. Their deadly reputations have always fascinated me, as well as their methods of attack. I think we've got one! In rivers around the world, I've seen everything from giant venom-coated stings to tiny assassins that drill into flesh. I've held a fish that could slice off my arm, smelt the breath of a beast that inhales its victim's whole, and felt the hammer blow of an 80-pound battering ram. Yet of all the nasty devices I've come across, there is one murderous-looking weapon that really stands out. It belongs to a sea monster that swims hundreds of miles up rivers. A monster that has completely eluded me until now. Fish on! Fish on! Nearly 20 years ago, on my first fishing trip to the Amazon, I was in a hardware store looking for rope and other supplies when I caught sight of something that stopped me dead in my tracks. It was about a yard long, with a profile just like a chain's long. What I'd stumbled upon was the snout, or rostrum, of a fish the locals called the araguagua. This is an animal I'd been vaguely aware of from my youth, but which I'd never actually seen. In the comics and adventure books of my childhood, this creature was normally depicted as a sea monster, usually brandishing serrated weapon that terrified skin divers. But I don't ever remember seeing a picture of a real one. And until that hardware store in Brazil, I'd no idea that this large and wickedly armed fish might swim up rivers. The animal in question is known in English as a sawfish. Giants over 20 feet long have occasionally been caught. And legend has it that these monsters will even attack boats. In the 16th century, the Swedish chronicler Olaus Magnus states that this terrifying fish will, and I quote, swim under ships and cut them, that the water may come in and he may feed on the men when the ship is drowned. More recently, a story from India talks of a man hacked in two. If those accounts sound far-fetched, then more believable perhaps is this newspaper article from the 1930s about an attack off the coast of Florida. The story goes that a fisherman harpooned a large sawfish in shallow water. But when the brute spun round and struck the boat with its snout, tables were suddenly turned. I shudder to imagine that rack of teeth scything into human flesh. Despite severe injuries, the victim in this instance appears to have survived. But I've long wondered if the animal that attacked him could be the most fearsome of any fish to lurk in a river. As I prepare to go in search of one, two questions are at the front of my mind. Why is such a large sea-dwelling predator coming into fresh water? And is the sawfish as deadly as it looks? My desire to meet this monster may have started in the jungles of South America, but that's no longer a place where I can hope to find one. In the 2 decades since I stared in horror at that fearsome weapon, sawfish have almost vanished in the flesh. For the first time in all my adventures, I'm afraid that this time I might simply be too late. Once common throughout the tropics, sawfish are now increasingly hard to find. Commercial fishing in particular has taken a heavy toll. Decades of overkill have almost wiped them out. To track down this rare beast, I'm heading to Australia's wild northwest. I've come to the remote Fitzroy River, one of the last strongholds of the so-called freshwater sawfish. Somewhere here, so I've heard, lurks a creature barely changed since the age of the dinosaurs. At the mouth of the river, I venture into unfamiliar territory. This is a no-man's land of shifting mud and treacherous currents. But the dangers I can see are only half the picture. Hidden below the surface are some of the world's most notorious man-eaters. I've been granted special permission to try and catch the critically endangered sawfish. This puts me in a truly privileged position. Yet in such a vast area, there's no guarantee I'll even find one.
Hundreds of square miles of open water. It is ridiculous.
The warm, shallow water at the mouth of the Fitzroy is prime sawfish habitat. 20 years ago, a local fisherman snagged an 18-footer not far from here.
Pretty lively. Yeah, that's something. If I hadn't seen what was responsible for that, I might be getting quite excited now. I might be thinking that's something toothy, but that's crab claw marks. Everything is hungry down here.
In my eye, I'm aware of a more sinister predator. For a saltwater crocodile, humans as well as crabs are fair game. This wouldn't be a good place to fall in. This time, I'm hooked into something meaty. It's only day one, but I wonder if I'm about to get lucky.
That's actually running. Back a little, back. Oh, here we go. Coming up.
Just when I think it's in, the fish kicks off again, and I grab my rod back for round two.
Okay, hold there. I'm going to take this easy because I can't get a positive ID in the water. Very muddy water. Oh, it's a shark. This estuary is just full of predators.
Bull shark. I keep well clear of its mouth. Even a 5-foot juvenile could bite my hand off. The adults can reach 13 feet and probably kill more people than any other shark. This is one of the few sea dwellers which, like sawfish, can swim up rivers.
Well, that's a bit of drama. I'm glad we got that in. It's always exciting to get a fish like that in on light tackle. But a bit of disappointment. That's not the fish that I'm after. I'm after something that looks actually quite similar to that. So I've got it all to do again. Next time the line goes, I want it to be a sawfish, not a bull shark.
Physically, sawfish resemble sharks quite closely. They have shark-like dorsal fins, a long body and a high sweeping tail. In other ways, they're more like their true ancestors, rays. The gills, for example, sit underneath. The head is flat and the mouth is a narrow slit. But it's the snout that intrigues me. Despite its vicious profile, few have ever seen it in action. Malcolm Douglas is an exception. This real-life Crocodile Dundee has witnessed nature's very own chainsaw massacre.
In '67, I was up around Darwin, and just as we came out of this creek in the morning, I saw something. I saw a big school of mullet all cruising, and they all sort of huddling together. And I said to my mate, I said, something's stressing those mullet. Bang, 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 bang. Faster than a speeding bullet, as they say. And then he just came through gobbling them up, and then he turned around again, and he did that several times. We just thought that was just the most fantastic thing that we ever saw. The saw on that, I measured it from memory, was around about 8 foot long.
A saw?
Yeah, the saw itself. Yeah, it's huge. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not prone to exaggeration.
This high-spec weapon is stuffed with sensors that pick up not just the movement of nearby animals, but also their electrical aura. Even in total darkness, a sawfish can nail its target. According to Malcolm, they also use their saw in self-defense.
You had a rack of those going into your leg.
Not nice. As the dry season comes on here, you get the fitzroy gets very shallow, right? And these sawfish will hang around quite often in the shallow water. Now, if you trap a sawfish between the bank and the deep channel, he will come at you with that saw and he'll just lash around like this. This is his protection. Now, if you get hit in the leg or the arm or the stomach, it's a pretty sight. It'll almost be worse than a crocodile bite because it's a rip right through like this, you know, and then they'd come back and they'd hit you 2 or 3 times. Right. Don't call me, mate. You'll probably die there.
The dry season is the only time you can explore the Fitzroy River, at least by vehicle. During the rains, all of this is underwater. I head to a deep channel known as Telegraph Pool. By moving a few miles inland, I'm hoping to improve my chances of catching a sawfish. Strong tides bring a lot of smaller fish into this lower section of the river, making it a rich hunting ground for large predators. Some are already lining up. With crocodiles, they say it's the ones you can't see that you have to worry about. Hardly reassuring when they vanish without trace into muddy water.
We're just waiting for nightfall, but it's a good state of the tide as well. The tide will be coming up soon. Apparently the sawfish move up with the tide, or they move up with the tide and move down with the tide. So just a couple of baits out. Yeah, it's all looking very fishy at the moment.
A few locals also brave this spot. Most are after barramundi, a sport fish prized for its fighting spirit, as well as flesh. To boost my chances, I've set up 2 rods. By sunset, my baits are still untouched. And as darkness falls, the mood grows more sinister. It's not just the crocs that are making me edgy. People have lived here for tens of thousands of years, and their spirits seem to haunt the shadows. With each passing hour, I feel more like a trespasser in someone else's world. Daylight comes as a relief, and then brings an unexpected breakthrough.
Do you want a hand with that?
Yeah, please.
Another fisherman, up early before the heat of the day, has accidentally hooked a sawfish. This 2-footer is a mere pup, but an extra pair of hands still doesn't go amiss.
Were you fishing for these, or?
No, barramundi.
Barramundi. And right.
I've caught everything but.
Right.
Certainly the first one of these I've seen.
Okay. I'm out of range now. It's only a small one.
This baby sawfish is the monster in miniature, and my first chance to get a safe look at this bizarre animal.
Wow. Right. That's the first one of these I've seen. Well, imagine one of these things 20 foot long, which is what they grow to when they get into the sea. But yeah, so just like a shark, if you look at the back end of it, come forward, that's just like a ray's mouth, a stingray's mouth. But, you know, that is the unique feature. And even on a small one like this, just look, you know, that's quite a fearsome weapon. And actually, although this is a small one, very good thing to see, because for fish like this to exist, and this is probably about a year old, there have to be breeding size adults around. Fantastic. I wish I caught it myself.
I'm here to catch a monster, but for now I just want to return the pup unharmed.
Just moving the tail to get the circulation going a bit.
Sawfish travel more than 200 miles up the Fitzroy River, deep into the arid Australian outback. I want to know why they swim so far into fresh water, and how dangerous they are to humans. 1,000 years. Sawfish feature in their tribal dances, and in one of their Dreamtime stories, the animal uses its huge saw to gouge out the rivers of the land. I'm now over 150 miles from the coast, and on my way to meet some of the Bunaba tribe. They call this stretch of river Dan Ku, or deep water, and I can see why. The white band along the cliffs is a stark warning of how far this river rises during the rains. For 30 feet above me, the rocks have been scrubbed clean. With help from the bunuba, I'm hoping to catch my first sawfish. But I also want to find out from them how dangerous it really is. Since coming here, I've already picked up one story of an attack from northern Australia. Back in the 1940s, a large sawfish first ripped itself out of a net, then pursued the fisherman's boat. As they fled in their dinghy towards the shore, it seems that two of the men were knocked overboard into a potentially deadly situation. What spooks me about this story is not the men's injuries. Incredibly, they escaped virtually unscathed. But according to the report, the boat's solid wooden hull was punctured by the animal's teeth. Such was the force of one of its blows. If a sawfish can punch a hole in a boat, I can't help wondering what its teeth could do to me. At least there's no danger here from saltwater crocodiles. Few of them ever come this far upriver. In a landscape like no other, and with a good 2 hours of daylight left, the temptation to stop and fish eventually gets the better of me.
This river is full of predators which, like the sawfish, come up from the sea.
And there's one in particular that I'd really like to have a look at. The barramundi is an ambush hunter that lurks near the bottom of the river, then bursts up to snatch its prey. To provoke a strike from this fish, anglers often use a brightly coloured lure, worked near the surface over deeper water. By perching on an island of rock, I can cast into a wide area of river. But steep sides and jagged surfaces mean I don't have much room for manoeuvre.
This feels quite a good weight. Very, very sharp rocks are these. There it is, there it is, there it is. I just see a flash on it. There it goes. Oops. Barramundi, lovely.
Not bad for 20 minutes work.
Spiky old dorsal fin on there, that's why you've got to be a bit careful handling these. Also, there's a very, very sharp, razor sharp bit of bone just in front of the gill flap there. Plus I had all the hooks to extract on this very precipitous bit of sharp limestone here, but here we go, fish in safely, barramundi, and just what a spectacular setting to catch it from.
The Aborigines have long hunted sawfish for food and are still allowed to catch them. As an outsider, though, I'm not sure how they'll take to me fishing for one in their waters. Around here, it's mostly the women who do the fishing, so it's their knowledge I want to tap into. Mary Aitken is an elder from the Bunuba tribe. She grew up on this river and begins by recounting the story of a large sawfish that she caught here many years ago.
We hauled it in onto the bank, and one of my family members banged it on the head and pulled it up onto the sandbar. And then we called out to some locals that were going downstream on the boat. We asked them to put the sawfish on the boat, otherwise we'd have been struggling with it.
How many were you?
There was about 4 or 5 of us.
And you couldn't take it between?
We didn't have no blokes, it was just all ladies.
It seems the fish was almost too big for the back of Mary's pickup.
Well, when we put it into the Toyota, we couldn't put it sort of cross because it was too big. So we had to slide it in, and a little bit of tail sticking out, but we managed to close the back.
So you've just got it on the back?
Yeah, just got it on, yeah. So it fed a lot of people, yeah.
So what about children when they go fishing here? They're catching small fish and then they get one of these sawfish on the line. I mean, do they ever get hurt by them?
We stand well away from it, you know. We tell the kids the same thing. We tell them it's too dangerous to hang around while it's still alive and kicking.
Then Mary hands me the largest saw I've ever seen. The savage potential of this ready-made weapon certainly hasn't been lost on humans.
There are records of sawfish rostrums being used as weapons right across the Western Pacific, from the Philippines down through New Guinea as far as New Zealand. They'd use it to slice open the abdomens of their enemies and also to open up the vein. In Australia, a couple of burglars attacked a man in a caravan using sawfish rostrum and they put him in hospital.
But whether the sawfish itself sets out to attack people is less clear. So far, the evidence is about as shadowy as the beast itself. By mid-dry season, the Fitzroy has shrunk, from a raging torrent into a series of quiet pools, with little or no moving water. This ought to concentrate the sawfish and make them easier to find. But before I go looking, I'll need plenty of fresh bait. With a casual throw of the net, Mary shows me the local technique for catching small fish.
So there's a bit of effort goes into this fishing, isn't it? You know, you don't just turn up and get a line out. You know, you've got to get the bait before
you... Get your bait first before you can go about fishing.
It's a method I've seen people use all around the world, but have never tried myself.
What's that? Is that a bream or something?
Yep.
The theory could hardly be simpler. Cast a circle and your net covers the greatest possible area, thus snagging more fish.
Swing the net on the side of your hip. And just throw it at it.
Lovely.
With fresh bait on her line, Mary is quickly into her fishing. Meanwhile, I'm getting into a bit of a muddle.
That was a square.
Try lifting your shoulder when you throw it. That's the better one.
After a slow start, I finally won some respect, and Mary lets me in on a few good fishing spots along the gorge. Sawfish have roamed the earth for at least 100 million years, yet the rocks under my feet are nearly 4 times this old. My walkabout takes me to the top of a limestone cliff, the remnant of a once mighty barrier reef that lay beneath an ancient ocean. Beyond the horizon, parts of this continent date back 4 billion years. That's almost as old as life. I'm looking for a stretch of water with a deep channel, the kind of place where big sawfish might lie up. I've got the whole river to myself, and with limited time, I'm eager to get fishing.
This is about as simple as fishing gets, I suppose, just using a hand line. So there's the hook down in the water, a little bit of lead holding the bait in place, and this end, just a winder. And this is what the locals use, so I'm just giving it a go. And they'll tend to go away and just come back and check the line after a couple of hours, make sure it's fastened to something. They tend to look a bit askance at me sitting actually holding the line, but I've only got a limited time here. I want to feel when something comes along, make sure the hook sets. But from their point of view, I'm wasting energy and also sitting out in the sun unnecessarily. All that remains now is to sit and wait for something to find the bait.
As the hours slip by, I try out several spots along the river. By mid-afternoon, the only animals I've managed to flush out are a bunch of cockatoos. Surprisingly, the shallow pools are still full of life. Even in the dry season, there are plenty of shrimp and bream to be found. This will be good ammunition for later. As I return to camp, I wonder if the abundance of food might explain why sawfish come so far upriver. If the pickings are rich enough and you can adapt to fresh water, then why not? Recently in South Africa, I caught huge adult bull sharks which were swimming way into fresh water for just this reason. But if the same is true of sawfish, then why aren't I hearing stories of giant 20-foot river monsters? It occurs to me that even here, in what's thought to be one of their last strongholds, these prehistoric beasts could be vanishing. Perhaps darkness will draw a sawfish out of its lair. It's often said they're more active at night. Just in case I doze off, I tie an empty can to the line. Should anything run off with the bait, the noise of it moving will wake me up.
The river here, but apparently in the past, according to Mary, there have been some big sawfish caught from this very place.
A long day baking in the outback sun has left me exhausted. But my overcooked brain refuses to switch off. I still have little sense of how dangerous sawfish are to people. Back in that hardware store 20 years ago, the answer seemed obvious. Yet for such a large and viciously armed beast, I'd have expected a lot more bad press. Especially from populated areas where sawfish were once common. After all, this is a fish said to have hacked a man in two. After a day of fishing without success, darkness has finally brought me a bite. My bare hands take the strain as I wind in the line, but the fish on the end is not what I'm expecting. Bull shark. A bull shark this far inland is a real eye-opener. These aggressive fish are clearly thriving here, even during the dry season when this part of the river is little more than a stagnant pond. So, a pretty hostile environment. You can see why everything in there basically is tooled up. The sawfish possibly needs that weaponry for defence, who knows? Anyway, I've got to put this back. I'll just hope I don't hook him up again. Even though I know bull sharks come up in, fresh water, it's still really strange seeing them here. But the monster I'm after is nowhere to be seen. It was only recently that outsiders realised there was some, and heading 100 miles back downstream to hook up with the small sawfish research team. Perhaps their knowledge can help me in my quest. I turn off the main highway to a dusty outpost called Cambalin, and then follow a dirt track to an abandoned irrigation dam. For most of the year, this man-made barrier stops sawfish swimming upstream. They accumulate below the dam, making this an ideal spot for the research team. Dr. Dave Morgan, who leads the research, is passionate about sawfish. By tagging and tracking individual fish, he's starting to build up a picture of their secret lives. But as we head out to set trapping nets, we're busy watching backs. Crocodiles seem to be following our activity with a predatory interest. This is risky work. If you get too focused on the crocs and take your eye off what's under your nose, you can wind up getting karate chopped by a sawfish in the net.
Just trying to do it from a boat in a deep section, that's when you often get hit a lot. When you don't want to get out of the boat because there's crocodiles or saltwater crocodiles around, then you get hit.
Working as fast as we can, we lay a series of nets across the main channel. If there are any sawfish here, they stand a good chance of getting snagged. At regular intervals throughout the night, we come back to see if anything's turned up.
There's a float down here.
Oh, yeah?
There's a kick here, kick.
Yep. Float down.
Okay, so we get...
Yep, we'll get that one down.
The first catch of the night is an agitated barramundi. As I already know, this can be a prickly customer.
These things are sharp, Jeremy. They're basically almost the worst thing to get out of a net. They're worse than crocodiles and bull sharks and sawfish. They've got spines all over.
It's got itself well wrapped up, but eventually we managed to untangle it without getting impaled. Barramundi got caught in the net. This is going back in the water. This thing's quite a vicious predator, but I mean, this is going to be a meal for the crocs if it stays in the net any longer. But back to fight another day. No sawfish is that the struggling barramundi has stirred up the crocs, and just the thought of being grabbed by one of them is making me jumpy. There's something, hang on, there's something grey in the water.
You can feel something, Jeremy.
Yeah, definitely there's a real kick like that.
Yep. Is it a long kick or a...
Can you see that?
Yeah, that's one.
croc, bull shark or sawfish, this has to be the lucky dip from hell.
Let's just do a quick croc spot. There was a croc coming in before over there.
Yeah,
It left the bank and was out in the middle. Just be careful, mate. It could be a bull shark or a freshwater, saltwater crocodile.
Well, they get wrapped in the nets, they come and take the fish out of the nets.
Well, the freshies generally go for catfish, but the salties definitely prefer the barramundi.
I'm starting to wish I was somewhere else.
Well, they'll chew them in the nets and try and fight you for them.
Oh, shall I attempt to grab that? Is that? Well, no sawfish in the net, but this is a bull shark. Okay.
I'd normally be fired up to find bull sharks so far upstream in fresh water, but they're starting to feel like a plague, and I wonder how many more I might have to pull out from this crocodile soup before I find sawfish. I'm told that the annual flood was lower than normal this year, making it hard for sawfish to move upstream. At any rate, the last nets are all empty. With cruel irony, daylight brings the threat of an unseasonal storm. Out here in the bush, heavy rain can spell trouble.
The timing is absolutely crucial. If I was here in the wet season, I'd be sitting underwater, which is precisely why we come now in the dry season. Not only is the river accessible, but also the fact that it's down, about 30 foot, the fish are more confined. The problem is that the weather actually is changing. There's the wind blowing, we had rain last night, and there's real concern at the moment that if there's any more rain, the tracks leading in here are going to become impassable. Vehicles can get out of here, and that will be a premature end to my mission.
With the big storm approaching, the research team has no choice but to beat a retreat. Yet it seems there is still a glimmer of hope. To stay one step ahead of the weather, we head back to Telegraph Pool. This is my last chance to catch the monster that I've waited nearly 20 years to see. While Dave and his team prepare for another night of trapping, I return, superstitiously perhaps, to the exact spot where I released the baby sawfish. Maybe this is where my prayers will finally be answered. This is a beast that means business, and it doesn't feel like a shark.
Good size, good size. It's coming in quite close. It's already quite... I'm trying to get on this rock. I need someone to grab it. It's ready, I think. It's a sawfish, it's a sawfish.
At last, the animal that's been swimming around on my head for nearly 20 years.
Here we go. My first sawfish. Look at this for a beast. This thing nearly 7 foot long, it's bigger than I am. And that rostrum on there,
That's 1.5 foot long. It's got 39 of those teeth. Each one is about 1 inch long, wickedly sharp. Got a huge dorsal fin, a very big second dorsal fin, very big tail, and they anchor the body. And when the body flexes, it's this head and this rostrum that really scythe from side to side.
The journey began almost 20 years ago. In the heart of the Amazon, I stood staring at a vicious-looking weapon and wondered if I'd ever see its owner in the flesh. Now, in a remote river in Australia, I've finally got my hands on a live sawfish.
Shall I hold that down?
The scientists, meanwhile, think they've figured out why these creatures come into fresh water.
It's flat on the rostrum.
Dave's latest measurements show that they're using the Fitzroy as a nursery.
Acoustic tag going in here.
Despite all the predators, it's still safer here than in the sea. Only when they reach 8 or 9 feet long do sawfish leave the river. As an adult living in salt water, this fish could one day become a 20-foot giant.
But I came here to find out if this fish is also a monster in terms of deed. Now, there's no doubt that that fearsome toothed rostrum is potentially a lethal weapon, and it's certainly been used as such in the hands of humans. But I can find just no instance at all of this fish having attacked a human being willfully. In other words, its monstrous appearance is not matched by its behaviour. Certainly if you're a small fish, this thing is a deadly weapon, but from the human point of view, the sawfish is the archetypal gentle giant.
If anything, these vicious-looking creatures seem to be more sinned against than sinners.
The thing is with these fish, it's always the weaponry that the attention is drawn to, the rostrum with all those teeth, but actually looking at the rest of this fish, this animal has been in the wars, it's been on the receiving end of quite a bad injury. There's a big bit of its pectoral fin here missing, and that's a very clean, curved cut, and it's slightly raw as well, which suggests it's fairly recent, and that would be a bull shark. And look at that. A saltwater crocodile thought it would have an easy meal. Teeth just bounced off that hide. So this is not just an animal with a very fearsome weapon on the end of its snout, it's just really tough as well. I mean, it just shrugged off that attack. It really is a rough, tough environment down there, and it does seem that you need to be tooled up in some way or other just in order to survive.
The tragedy for this fish is that in a world full of nets, the very weapon it needs to survive is now liable to get it snagged and killed. My only fear as it swims away is that we may be seeing the last of these ancient and extraordinary monsters.
How many stars would a hotel get if every room had a view?
Cheers, mate.
Great Northern Brewing Co. The beer for up here.
Raindrops on roses and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things.
We can't afford this.
Purse pirate can lend ye crooked treasure. Ye be locked into your booty bed forever.
Good deal.
But pay no heed to the C's and T's. T's and C's.
Or we could be sure with Credit 24.
Arr.
Honest loans, no funny business. Credit 24.
Mysterious tales of unsolved murder cases, suspicious attacks that could be explained by an underwater creature always catch my eye. And recently, I came across a very strange case indeed.
In 2011, on a beach in Mexico, 5 fishermen washed up, dead. Horrific bruises.
It sounds terrible, but in a country ravaged by drug wars, finding mutilated bodies is not necessarily unusual. It's what comes next that has really grabbed my attention.
It wasn't the police, but a marine biologist who was called in to investigate. Because according to the report, the finger of suspicion doesn't point to a human, but to a deadly sea creature. My name is Jeremy Wade, and I normally investigate cases of river monsters. Freshwater killers that plague the rivers and lakes of our planet.
This thing really is a river monster.
Mysteries of the sea are outside my comfort zone, but this story about fishermen attacked by a mysterious sea creature is so intriguing, I can't ignore it.
I'm investigating a chilling story about 5 dead fishermen washed up on a beach in Mexico's Sea of Cortez. One of the key clues is that the bodies were covered in strange wounds. The local marine biologist was convinced that they were the work of an animal.
The marine predator that always springs to mind is a shark, but sharks leave a clear signature, a wound with the distinct curve of a shark's jaw. To get to the bottom of this case, I need some details about those mysterious wounds.
But I can't track down the marine biologist in the article. Nobody's heard of him. I'm beginning to have doubts about this story.
But I have unearthed other strange reports of fishermen attacked by mysterious creatures in the Sea of Cortez. This one talks about 2 Mexican fishermen dragged from their boats and chewed so badly their bodies could not be identified even by their own families.
Another one about a man who fell overboard.
As he reached up for help, he was pulled to the depths, never to be seen again. Finding such similar stories in one location can't be a coincidence.
I need to get on the ground to investigate. Mexico's Baja Peninsula is a remote strip of land separated from the mainland by the notorious Sea of Cortez. These infamous waters have a dark history of violence. Stories of hidden coves where Spanish pirates... The barren desert that rises straight out of the sea is mostly uninhabited. Santa Rosalia is one of the few populated areas, a remote fishing community. I ask around to see if anyone knows about the attacks. I'm told I need to go to the beach at sunset to speak to the locals before they head out night fishing.
Buenas noches. Van a pescar hoy?
I ask about the 5 dead bodies. They say they're not aware of the case. But they do have other accounts of attacks at sea. He tells me of a time they took a dog fishing with them. It jumped out of the boat and suddenly the water boiled around it.
All that was actually left of this dog was its head.
This sounds like the work of a shark and not the mysterious animal I'm looking for. I don't think it helps me in my investigation. But they go on to tell me tales of attacked fishermen, including one about a man left covered in unusual bite marks. This sounds like the stories that brought me here, and adds to my suspicion that there's an elusive predator in these waters. But when I ask where I can find this man, I'm told he committed suicide. I'm too late for that victim, but the fishermen tell me the attacks happened in deep trenches off the coast. The Sea of Cortez sits on a series of major fault lines and was formed when the Earth's tectonic plates ripped apart. Under the surface are underwater canyons with depths reaching thousands of feet. The next morning, I hire a boat to take me out to sea. I need to get my line in the water to find out what is really out there. As we approach the deep water, I spot signs of life.
There's dolphins coming in towards the boat. That's a sign that these are really rich waters. I mean, they would not be here, if there wasn't food for them to feed on.
Dolphins have been known to attack humans, but they don't usually leave any external wounds.
Some big old sea lions on this rock here. Now, they might look a little bit cuddly and comical out of water, but they are actually very efficient predators. They basically got teeth rather like a dog.
But like sharks and dolphins, sea lions would leave very distinctive marks. You would absolutely know what was responsible. I ruled them off my suspect list too. But the fact remains, fishermen here have been attacked by something that lives beneath the surface.
We've just spotted an area of bait fish about a couple hundred yards away, and what happens is you've got small fish swimming near the surface. It alters the pattern of the surface, so you've got these tighter pattern of waves over there. And what we're going to do is we're going to just work backwards and forwards around that. It's quite a big patch, and the chances are, well, we're hoping there's going to be bigger fish beneath that coming in to feed on those small ones. This is what I'm going to put on the end of the line. This mimics small fish in the water. When the boat is moving, that will bring this alive. And the thing about this vein on the front here, this will make it dive down beneath the surface. I'm using wire because the chances are anything that goes after a small fish is going to have teeth. Just clip that on here. Basically in the sea, there's not a lot of trees and things for fish to sort of swim into and get tangled up. So I've got lots of line on here. Anything large could take off a lot of line. If the worst comes to the worst, we follow it in the boat. So although it might not look like it, this gear here is actually capable of bringing in something weighing a few hundred pounds. There you go, that's ready to go. We motor at speed, so my lures move like small fish fleeing a predator. Right, all set. Now we just wait and watch.
But I don't have to wait long.
Oh, yep. So lift, wind down, lift, wind down. It doesn't feel very big, whatever it is.
This isn't a fish that's capable of attacking a human, but it's a promising sign.
Skipjack tuna, and these are perfect meals for anything larger. And the fact that these are around, I mean, it's a bit like, if the zebras are around, the lions have got to be there somewhere. So put this one back alive.
I get my line straight back in the water, and within minutes I have another bite.
We've got one on here. This feels like a tuna again. They've got that very...
And these skipjack tuna keep coming.
I think there's something on here. I think it's another skipjack. You can see it quite visibly through the water. Another skipjack tuna. Lots of them down here.
I didn't come here to catch meal-sized fish, but I wonder if I can use this abundance of tuna to my advantage and up my game.
I'm now fishing with one of these skipjacks as bait.
With a whole skipjack tuna on the end of my line, I'm hoping to attract a much bigger predator.
rod just sprung back. Doesn't feel like there's anything on there. This is weird, this is weird.
That was definitely a bite, but the tuna and the end of my leader are gone.
Something's just bitten through a piece of wire.
Anything that can bite through wire must have some serious teeth. There's clearly a big predator down there.
Well, I'm not going to find out what that was because it's gone, but I think nothing for it really but to get this line in again.
With another whole skipjack as bait, I'm hoping to lure the culprit back. And I've come up with an unorthodox way of detecting a bite.
Well, what I'm doing, I've got one of the small tuna quite some distance away from the back of the boat. If something hits that bait, even with the drag really, really light, the fact that something is moving at speed through the water, it's going to feel resistance. And what that resistance might do is make it not properly take the bait, spit it out, leave it. So what's going on here is I've got a rubber band clipped to the line. That goes round a cleat here. And then I've just fed some line out into the water, several feet of line, between that and the rod tip, so that if anything hits the bait, the first thing that's going to happen, it's going to break the rubber band, which is like a weak link. But once it's done that, it's going to feel no resistance whatsoever. The theory is, fingers crossed here, it's going to carry on going and I'm going to hook up.
I'm now watching that band for any sign of movement.
It's just the rubber band has just stretched a couple of times, which could indicate that something's happening down there or is about to happen.
Oh, look at that. Oh, there we go. I saw that on the surface.
This time, it looks like it's still there. We used the... Whatever's down there has latched onto an entire skipjack tuna.
Nothing jumping yet, but whatever it was came up on the surface before it made that final hit. What's happening? It's off. Is it off? What's happened there? Something has just torn the fish, torn its head off, basically. The fact that nothing actually jumped out of the water, the fact that this has just been cut pretty cleanly off the rest of the body. It's cut through flesh, it's also cut through the backbone, and it's cut through the gill plate here, so that speaks very much of sharp teeth. And that sort of shape there, it's like a signature, and the signature says very clearly, shark of some sort.
This would explain my bitten off leader, but I don't think this helps my investigation. Great whites, hammerheads and makos are all native to these waters. But I've already ruled out sharks because their bite marks are so distinct. I can't imagine a shark's jaw leaving the unusual bruises and wounds I've been hearing about. My investigation seems to be going nowhere fast, when one of my reels starts screaming.
Yep, go! Wait. No slack, no slack, no slack, no slack, no slack, no slack, no slack. We're on the braid now, we're off the nylon, and it's running, it's just running. Right. Nice feeling. Oh, there it is, it's 40, 50 yards off. It's getting close to the boat. So striped marlin, this. See the vertical stripes on the body.
For a humble novice to sea fishing, this is a landmark catch. Marlin are truly iconic fish, and it's the first time I've even seen a striped marlin.
So, right, we've got very little time. We've got to get this back in the water quickly. This is a striped marlin. You can see the stripes not so clearly now vertically on the body. But, you know, this thing, everything tells you it's just built for speed.
With a body as streamlined to 50 miles an hour. It has a distinctive sword-like bill that can grow to more than 3 feet in length and is twice as tough as human bone. This super strong bill is used for hunting. When a marlin attacks a shoal of fish, this weapon stuns the prey.
Look at those eyes. Those are big eyes. One very interesting thing about this fish is fish are cold-blooded, but this particular fish, it has heating for its eyes.
A specially adapted muscle provides heat energy to the eye and enables the marlin to capture light more quickly. Like a high-speed camera, this superpowered vision turns a blur of fast-moving prey into a clear target.
Time to go back. Okay.
These natural-born killers are precision marksmen, perfectly adapted to the fast pace of the ocean.
Marlin, that is a big predatory fish.
Fishermen pulling in big marlin have been speared by that lethal bill. But these were accidental encounters, leaving a single distinctive wound. The stories I've heard speak of multiple wounds. I'm looking for an animal capable of a sustained attack, a persistent serial killer, or perhaps a pack of predators. I'm starting to wonder if I'm only skimming the surface of what's down there. I'm quite literally out of my depth.
Regularly, the depth sounder is picking up 1,000 feet. There are times even when that can't find the bottom. And this is just so different from the kind of fishing that I normally do.
I'm used to fishing rivers and lakes that are tens or at most hundreds of feet deep, but this is a vast ocean. Even more than my usual investigations, finding a killer out here is like looking for a needle in a haystack. As we head back, I wonder if I need a new approach. Back in Santa Rosalia, commercial fishermen are bringing in their daily catch. Wherever I am in the world, the fishing docks can provide vital clues, a rogues gallery of potential suspects. Perhaps here I'll find evidence of other big predators that prowl these waters.
These are mackerel feathers. They catch mackerel, which they're just unloading from this barrel here. Oh, the size of the eye on this fish. This is what goes for those brightly coloured mackerel feathers there. So that seems to be it for today. Quite a few nice yellowtail coming in, very pretty fish. They are, of course, predatory fish. They feed on smaller fish. Very muscular they are, but no way are they a danger to anybody in the water.
Over the years, my many trips to docks like this have given me a bit of a sixth sense. And I'm realising there is something missing here.
One thing that has struck me is all this out here is perfect shark habitat, but no sharks whatsoever coming in. And I have to say, I'm just finding that a little bit puzzling.
I've definitely seen evidence of sharks in these waters, and shark meat can be highly profitable. So I'd expect to see them being brought in here. The fact that nobody is catching them is surprising. As with any investigation, an absence of evidence can be significant. And when I ask why they don't fish for shark, one man who doesn't want to be filmed gives me an intriguing lead.
I've just been talking to someone who says if I really want to know what's going on here, there's a place I need to see. It's all a bit cloak and dagger, but no, he was very clear that I need to see this place.
He described a location further down the coast which he referred to as a cementerio, a cemetery. The directions lead me off the main road.
I've just come past a large bay, so I reckon I'm somewhere around about here. There's what looks like a track going down here, which corresponds to this map here. And then where that meets the sea, that does tend to correspond with this little sketch I've been given. So I think I've got to take this track, see where it leads.
As I head down the remote dirt track, the landscape becomes more barren. And as I approach the sea,
can see lots of vultures up ahead.
I spot signs of death.
Raindrops on roses and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things.
Stretching, perfect.
Oh, legend. Yui's 24/7 roadside assist is a must-have when it's your week to carpool, and you slightly misjudged the size of a pothole. 5 minutes till we're back on the road, 12 minutes till the comp starts.
Look what I found! Whoa, cool!
No, not cool.
You insured.
Welcome back to the Woolworths Park tests. In comes Carey from the southern end. Fresh delivery.
Oi, Tez!
Yeah, mate?
Just one over?
Oh, and out comes the baggy green. And shots right off the meat of the